Today we're taking a look at something that's so big I have to back the camera up to get on frame, and it's very heavy. This is the V2 of the PowerStrike 48 mod. 7 years later. So trying something new with the setup. Let me know what you think. It's not perfect, but it do, and it keeps away from the rain and snow. So this is the PowerStrike 48 mod I've been working on. I've been posting some updates on the channel for a while. This was made to work in Maryland Mayhem. It is clearly past Maryland Mayhem. It was there in the V1 form of the V2. It's a lot different now. And this is a very big, very heavy mod. And if you notice this thing on the side, that's kind of where the big heaviness goes in, because obviously, like, you know, this thing is very heavy, you know, very big. You gotta have a way to hold it, right? So let's get into that, because I don't want to hold this for that long. So you have to put the blaster down for this, but this is kind of this is a cool thing about this mod. Got some questions about this. This is a Steadicam vest for like cameras and stuff that I've modified for a PowerStrike and other things in the future. Pretty much you just strap up with your Iron Man suit here. You grab your dual arm, slides right in there, and this arm was this is a different arm and vest that came with it. I've modified this not heavily, but pretty heavily. And then you're going to take your pin, take your collet. There's one that stays on here, but this is the one that comes off. And then I like to hang them on the arm. Then you take your PowerStrike. We'll get a little closer so you can see this. There's a hole drilled in this part. Slides right in there. Then you take your retaining ring and you slide it on there. Take your pin. You are locked in, and now you have the world's first wearable PowerStrike 48. Don't know what's going on here. PowerStrike 48 in the center. Technically two, because there's another one up here to extend the front and another one up here for this angle and this detail. In the back, you have the base as a Firefly, and then you have a twin shock on that, and then you have a hydro cannon on the outside of that. And then in the center here, you have a Centurion barrel, Cyclone shock slide, and a long shot front gun up here. Obviously up here you have long shot front gun, you have twin shock, Aeon Pro Grip. This is from a tri-brake, this side panel, and this side panel is from a Nerf Mercury. I think that's all of them. And the last blaster that is kind of hidden, well not really, but it's inside, is a XBZ, a Busby XBZ. And all you do to activate that is... And then, if you can see that, you got your gauge right here. Tells you the pressure. It's pretty much a panic shot. It pumps up super quick, and then you can just pump with the front trigger. So, that's the whole XBZ system. The pressure gauge is held in a Titan gauge holder. Forgot to mention that, but it works very well and looks pretty nice. It does have a flashlight for HVZ games, because this thing was designed for HVZ. So it has a button right back here that activates, and you can kind of like flicker it if you need to strobe, but I don't recommend that. It's just, you can do it. So yeah, body-wise, it takes up a lot of blasters. Paint-wise, it is Bayer spray paint, actually. I did a lot of weathering techniques and a lot of blending just to kind of make everything look a little more worn and Doom-esque, but still keep it clean and metallic-y. That was the main goal. So main idea for this blaster came about from playing too much Doom at 3 a.m. and looking at eBay the next day and seeing a Power Strike 48 and getting good memories. This project has been about 6 months of work, a lot of time, a lot of my paychecks. In case you're wondering why I need this rig, this thing is 13 pounds, 12 pounds and like 8 ounces, something like that. And the main mass of it's right in the center here with the cylinder. We'll go over all the mods and everything in a minute here. The Power Strike mod was very extensive. I consulted with Chicken. They helped me out with a lot of the modifications. They had done one previously the last couple years, and it turned out really good. It works really well from what I've heard. I wanted to take those internals and put them in a different shell. So I consulted them. They gave me a lot of good advice, and after like 2 months, I did get this thing firing, and allows you to have 72 half darts on tap. Every time you pull the trigger and fire a dart, you get 2 half darts coming out. 2 half darts, or you can load it up with full-length darts and get full lengths. And a screw just fell out. It still works, I don't care. I'll lay some internal videos over here, some photos to show you kind of the hell. This thing was, the logbook was the Power Strike made in hell, pretty much. That's why it just, you know, you have to modify so many things. So you start with modifying the front cage, and the cage in the pictures wasn't even the one I went with in the end. I ended up going with a full metal worker cage, only slightly modified, that fits a lot better and sounds better and performs a lot better. So that, you know, first I had to start off with the cage before I knew I was extending the front. Then got to the main guts. So the priming slide mechanism of the Power Strike had to be completely overhauled. You have to eliminate one of the teeth in the back to get it to fire properly, and that means you have to edit all the 3 rest of the teeth on there to fire the darts, and with the custom followers and everything, it was a lot of trial and error. As you can see from these pictures I'm laying over here, again, a lot of trial and error, a lot of taking this thing apart over and over again, a lot of trying over and over again, gluing clutches, eliminating safety mechanisms, redesigning a already complicated blaster. The internals alone took me like roughly 2 months. And I did some integrating in there to get like the overall shape, but most of it was internals. And then the externals took me about another 3.5 months. You know, I added the hydro cannon bits, and again, I'm overlaying some stuff here. I added the hydro cannon bits, and that, if you don't know anything about hydro cannons, you know they're made out of polypropylene. And if you've ever done integrations, you know polypropylene is one of the worst plastics you can integrate with because there's nothing that glues to it. Throughout this project, I used 15 different adhesives to get this thing together with all the metal, polycarbonate, ABS, polystyrene, and all the different materials. I found some glues that do work on polypropylene. There's a company out of a state in the US, I forget at the moment. They produce a methacrylate that works on polypropylene. I can overlay a picture here if anybody's interested, if anybody even watches this. But, you know, it is very interesting that now, hopefully, we can start using some Fortnite blasters and some older Super Soakers and stuff and integrated because we have the technology and the glue to hold it together. A little more difficult to work with than DevCon, but it works very well. As you can see, this thing's holding together, and it looks really good. And, you know, I did have to use a new kind of putty as well to get to stick to the polypropylene. That wasn't too bad. But yeah, a lot of different experiments in this blaster is basically what I'm saying. This blaster was basically a giant experiment to push my skills and to see how far I could get. I actually started this before the barrel break, to put that into perspective. So like this is kind of where my, you know, really clean cuts start coming into play. A lot more time and effort into sanding and body work, and a lot more attention to detail. So this thing looks really good. It feels really good. It's as solid as a rock now after the 6 months I put into it. And obviously, you know, you can have a 13-pound Nerf gun hanging off your body for minutes on end while you're talking and nothing happens to it. You can move it around during the video. You know, nothing's going on. So yeah, it's, you know, all the integrating worked really well. Everything's really solid. But just to keep on with the timeline here. So got the internals working, got the body work mostly complete. You know, kept chugging along at that. That took like 2.5, 3 months to do all that body work and all that. Finalized internals and stuff. The last month was pretty much tidy work. And it really got annoying and tedious. You know, I had to modify the internals slightly because there were some slight differences from the first firing demo to the second. So I had to edit like a little, I had to do some different modifications on the inside just to keep stuff smooth. And then the whole time I forgot a bracket. So that was causing issues, but I did get that at the end. I found it in the parts bin on a call with Clowny. So that was nice. It was a lot of little tedious things. And then the front actually exploded on me on the very first firing demo I tried to film for this thing. It was made out of, I'll show you some pictures here. It was made out of heat welded and plastic heat welded plastic with some metal in it. And I was like, it works like glue. It'll, you know, stay over it and keep it secure with that metal rod in there. Good idea. Material wasn't ready for it. The plastic I tried to use from the original Power Strike got brittle, it got hard. So when I put it together and put some forces through it, it torqued and broke. So I actually had to remake the entire front of this blaster out of polycarbonate. With metal rods going through it like a soccer kid that snapped his leg in two. Very stiff, very sturdy now, but I had to again experiment with 2 more adhesives to get that polycarbonate to bond with the Power Strike, and a lot of body work and time. And I actually ended up repainting the front of this blaster, not the front gun, but the front of the Power Strike 4 times after the initial paint job. So I painted this thing 5 times total. It really was pushing my limits, but now it's done and it is very, very nice. I do like it a lot. It has a lot of character. It looks cool. It feels badass. And yeah, you're not really gonna see another Nerf blaster like this Power Strike. This main yellow bracket here, that holds the caster and holds it to the body, I got a quote from a machine shop for this here in my town. It was ridiculous, and it wasn't even this nice and sturdy. This is 4 layers of 16 gauge mild steel, welded and sanded and, you know, filled and everything, and has the bolts run through it. All these Allen bolts on the outside here run through the entire body and are screwed into the body with, I forget what they call them. It's basically threads you tap into the body, like helicoils kinda, but it's more for wood. But I used it for this because wood's a little more similar than metal with a helicoil. And helicoils were giving me issues with this. Every single screw post had to be modified, enlarged, and helicoiled towards the end because it kept fighting me. So I had to helicoil every single screw post in this thing. So that was another fight. But yeah, this big bracket, it was quoted for a lot of money. But I'll get a little closer here. I know there's not a lot of good light over here, but I'll show you some pictures as well. It's all nice, solid. You know, you can hang the whole blaster off it, obviously, and it weighs 13 pounds. You can even like just let it hang and rotate. You know, it does a really good job. No creaking, no bending. You'd be hearing it if it was, you know. And this whole left side of the shell where the bolts and everything run through, there was a gap between the Hydro Cannon and the Power Strike. So I use Smooth Cast 300 to fill in the gap and make this a solid mounting platform. Me and Clowny especially were very concerned that being on one side and being torqued and everything and all this stuff would affect. It doesn't matter if you make the glass house out of diamonds. It's not going to fall. This thing is way overbuilt and way over-engineered. This left side took me like close to a month to do that. So that was fun, but it works really well. And again, like this thing is just like overbuilt, over-engineered. What will you go to get what you want? That was my question on this, and I went pretty far. You know, I'm very glad it's done. It was a fun ride for the most part. I did have some ups and downs. You know, was very frustrated at some points. But once I overcome those failures, it was very glorious. And, you know, I've been rolling some B footage and everything. This thing is just so much larger than life, and I can't even describe what everything went into it, because I can barely remember all went into it. There was just so much information that I indulged myself in learning about adhesives and plastics and all this stuff. I knew a lot about it already, obviously, but now I'm like a thesaurus. Ask me a glue question, I'm your god. You know, it's ready to go. So we're gonna start with the Mega XL. So all you do with this, the Silly Shell XBZ, is take your shell, slide it right in there. It's ready to go. Get ready. Take your switch, look at your gauge so you don't blow up the tank. That's 55 PSI, and then, so that's a pretty good shield buster. And then, you know, when you're on the field, you just take it, pop it out, slot it back in, grab your Mega, slot that in, and repeat the process. That's pretty good. And again, this is pretty much my first time handling this, and it's going like a dream pretty much. Just saying that. And that's the 3-dot shell. That's how easy it is to reload. And then 6 shots in the chamber. That's a pretty good spread. So we're going to do the firing demo of the Power Strike now. So there might be some jams. It's not ironed out 100% yet, but it does look good, and let's see what it does. So yeah, I'm gonna cut the firing demo there. As you can see, we got a couple pretty good wraps out of it. Again, something this big, and mainly something from 2004 that's been completely re-engineered. You know, it needs a little bit more time. What's going on? I will show you. I ain't above it. So these are the followers right here. Okay. These were custom designed by Mr. Peep in the Merge Masters Discord, so thank him for that. They allow you to use half darts, and this is the right length and everything to push them out of the Kuryaka barrel at the end. The reason this cylinder is so heavy, it is 4 pounds of type L copper, half-inch copper, to act as like a loose fit for the darts, and then a foot of Kuryaka barrel at the front, an inch in each section, to hold in the half dart and keep it retained. But what's happening is, like, if you tilt it a certain way, you know, they're only stiff between the certain areas. So if it's even like a little bit off, the arm won't catch it. So what I've been thinking is magnets and a spring follower. You know, so, but you know, the main idea that this thing is here and it works is there. You know, it's not 100% reliable yet. I still have a lot of time till Maryland Mayhem 4. Shouldn't be too hard to figure those issues out by then. So yeah, guys, that's kind of a loose firing of the Power Strike and kind of an explanation of what it is, why I did it, you know, kind of show you how it works. Again, with something this custom and, you know, this heavy and all this stuff, it's just a lot of little things that you gotta figure out and tweak with, you know. The best mods don't happen overnight. They take a lot of time. So again, by Maryland Mayhem 4, I should have this thing completely done. I am going to keep tinkering with it and coming up with ideas over the next half a year until that event. So yeah, stay tuned for that. That should be pretty exciting. Crazy Nerf mods still do exist. You just got to know where to find them. I'm working on it. It's getting there. But I had to get this video out just to show everybody and kind of explain what this thing is, what it's about, and all that stuff. So yeah, if you like this blaster, like any of the process of how I built it and everything, and like anything about it at all, please like, comment, and subscribe. You know, this is a lot of time and money and effort, so it would be nice just to know that like people still like this kind of stuff. You know, I'm gonna keep doing it either way because I like it. But you know, if you do like it, just let me know. So thank you guys for watching the video on the V2 of the Power Strike 48 mod. Hope y'all have a great day, and thanks for watching. So if you guys have stuck around this long, you're cool. This is a glimpse of the next project. Some of you probably know what this is. Some of you have probably never seen it. But it does this to Mega XL. You should stay tuned for that.